So the Once Upon a Time panel at San Diego Comic-Con is done, and in this video we're going to be discussing Rose Reynolds, Gabrielle Anwar, and Adelaide Keene and who they will be playing. Now, of all the stories that dropped for Once Upon a Time, this is the one that has me the most concerned because we're getting version 2 of different characters. Now, for 2/3 of them, I'm actually okay with the version 2 because I wasn't too attached to their interpretation of Lady Tremaine and Drizella or whoever Adelaide Keene would be playing. She could be Drizella, she could be Anastasia, it could be whatever they want to name the stepsister. So I'm not too attached to those versions, from the first book because it was in one episode. So that's fine. It's Rose Reynolds replacing Sophie Lowe as Alice that is concerning to me because I know a lot of you liked Once Upon a Time Wonderland, and I think it's a real big mistake to do a version 2. Now, this could be, this can be labeled as a retelling, but to me it's a version 2 because they said it's a new book. So if it's a new book, you have a version 2. And the problem with version 2 in your own canon is you break it. So, you're going to get attached to Jesse Chasm's character of Cinderella, and now we have to get attached to Diana Ramirez's Cinderella. And I think that's a problem because you're always going to be thinking, which one is better? Now, the reason why alternate universes work in comics is because it's a comic. It's not one significant or linear plot. It diverges. With shows, it should be linear, and you need to see where it's going to end up. And now we are in a new book, and the old book is still on your mind. And this is the problem with having multiple versions of characters. The whole Ursula thing was fine because it was 3 different Ursulas at once, but now these are 2 Cinderellas and 2 Alices that will never interact. So Sophie Lowe, I guess, technically could come back as Alice version 1, and technically Jessie could come back as Cinderella version 2. Because again, there are different versions of these characters. But I think to bring in Rose Reynolds as Alice is also a problem. I would have just kept it in the Cinderella plotline and made Rose Reynolds Jane Porter from Tarzan. I think that would have been more interesting to see. So I'm concerned as to where the story will be going, but essentially Adelaide Keene and Gabrielle Anwar seem to be playing the antagonists, it looks like, for the season, which I think is actually really interesting that the stepmother and stepsister from Cinderella will be the bad guys. Now, if any of you have seen Cinderella, A Twist in Time, Lady Tremaine got access to the fairy godmother's wand and was able to reverse time and try to take away Cinderella's happy ending. So maybe somehow Lady Tremaine has magic and she takes and she casts this dark curse that our main characters are under, and maybe there's a reason why everyone else is gone because of Lady Tremaine. So I'm curious to see how everything is going to loop together. We already know that we already know that Diana Ramirez is playing Cinderella. So it's an interesting idea, but the version 2, well, it terrifies me, quite frankly, because I'm really, really concerned where it's going to go. I wanted all these 5 women to play, brand new characters. I made a whole video about who they could have played, and I got to say, I never expected it to be an alternate version of a character. So anyway, that's the first news. Rose Reynolds is playing Alice, Gabrielle Anwar is playing the stepmother, and Adelaide Keene is playing a stepsister. I think it should be fun, at least for the first episode, but if it gets too crazy, it's going to have some problems, I would feel. But I'm still excited. I'm still excited for this because I want to see how it's all going to blend together. Also, Alice and Cinderella have done well at the box office. They're great movies. So I understand why they want to do it from a business perspective. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, Alice, the first one made $1 billion. The second one, not so much, and the second one also wasn't that good. But the first Alice did really well, and Cinderella sells. Everyone loves the Cinderella story. Cinderella is in the public domain, and people love the Disney version of Cinderella. Everyone associates Cinderella to Disney. She's, I believe, the most popular of the Disney princesses. So again, why they're doing Cinderella makes so much sense. But if I was working on Once Upon a Time, and I'm like, well, maybe we should do a whole Cinderella arc, I would have done that years ago, and not have done it now, and not have done a second version, or have saved Cinderella for season 7. They could have done it in so many different ways. I just think that the timing of this is awkward, but overall it should be interesting. So anyway, share your thoughts about Rose Reynolds, Gabrielle Anwar, and Adelaide Keene's new characters or casting announcements, and we'll talk about the trailer and Mika Cox real soon. All right, guys.